Hey guys, Lone Star State Outdoors here. Here is my top 6 favorite trout flies. You know, they're all different types. I'm not showing you my favorite 6 overall. These are top 6 different trout flies that I think are the best ways to catch trout. Here is what we call a woolly bugger. This is in the olive platform, or color, not platform. It's rather small, woolly bugger, you know, but it's for trout. It's supposed to be small. This mimics a wounded baitfish or baitfish swimming through the water. It can mimic crawfish, depending on how you use it. And I do have a diagram type thing right here. You can see I did draw up here. I don't know if you can see these two little lines right here, but there's two little pencil marks right here that represent weights. If you are fishing in extremely currented water with a lot of current, you put two weights on here to get down to the depth you need to go to, you know. Number 2 on my list is eggs. Eggs work real good during the spawn when they're spawning. I have 3 different types of eggs here. I have a silicon egg. Also, you should probably choose the color that best match is this time of the age of the eggs, depending on the time of the year and where you live. Also, the color does depend on what kind of fish your egg you're trying to mimic. I know some of the larger eggs are salmon eggs and the orange ones. This is a yarn egg with a bead on it, and this right here is the bead egg, and this one you run the bead a little bit ahead of the hook. I don't know if my fingers are getting in the way. A little bit ahead of the hook, so when the trout goes to bite at it, you get a guaranteed bite, or hookup ratio is a little bit higher. So I've heard. I've never used the bead version. We're getting up into some. This is a called a fuzzy john. This works really well. It mimics bugs that are trying to swim through the water, or like those water striders if it's up towards the surface, and it just creates a lot of attraction. But a lot of times they won't bite on this, so you'll need to run a line tied to the end of this hook back, and you'll have to run a zebra midge or a I'll get to that in a second. A zebra midge, which is a nymph type thing. It represents a small bug in its not larval state, but you know, right after it hatches. And I don't know if y'all can see that, but it's real small, and they see that. It may look small to you, but they see that and they will eat that. They're looking for any easy meal. I also have a diagram written up here, and we're getting into strike indicators too. There's a little, you can see the line, and I'll put the hooks where they need to go. You won't always need a weight, but to get up, sometimes you need to get the weight, the lures down to where the fish are, and that you'll take a egg weight or whatever split shot weight you have and run it down there, and the line will float up. The lures naturally want to kind of go up to the surface as the inrushing current. So you get that down here, and then you have this. This obviously isn't up to scale, but you'll run this about 5 foot behind, not 5 foot, that sounds a little crazy, 3 foot at the most, depending on how far you want it to weigh. That's all up to personal preference, I think. And you'll run a zebra midge behind it. The fuzzy john is probably one of, these aren't in any specific order, but they all work really well. I've caught fish on all of these actually. These work really well. These have been known to catch some pretty big fish. It may look pretty small. If you're just getting into fly fishing, you might think, man, what are you trying to catch, some bluegill? I know I used to think that, but now that I've gotten a little bit more experience to that, I've learned that that's not always true. Small hooks do catch some pretty big fish, That is a zebra midge. This is what we call that. This is, I believe, a fuzzy john, and this is what I think it's called a San Juan worm. And it's just a piece of yarn that looks like a worm, and you'll run it the same way like this. You don't have to run it, you run it the same way as you do this with the fuzzy john and like that. You run a line behind this with a nymph or a zebra midge. And we'll get into strike indicators in a minute, these bobber looking things. And this is a nymph. We've gone through 5 flies so far. This is a nymph. This is very small. This one, a specific one, is called the Superman because it is red and blue. But it sits there and glides through the water, very similar to how not the fuzzy john, but the nymph works. It does the same thing. It just replicates a small little bug that's going through the water, and the trout see it as an easy snack. And you can run that behind a fuzzy john or a San Juan worm, or you can just run the nymph with a weight that weighs it down. So this comes up a little bit right off the surface, the bottom of the water. Or you can run it without a weight. It depends on how you want to fish and what the conditions are. You can, there's a lot of different combinations. Now we have two different strike indicators here. This is an airlock strike indicator, I believe is what it's called. The way it works is you unscrew this and you have a little notch right here that your line goes into, and then you put this back over on top of the line and screw this in to lock it in place. This is a lot easier to use, but they are a little bit more expensive, ranging from about $2 a piece. These can range from $1.50 to 50 cents a piece, depending on what size you get. These, you run your line through that hole, and then you take this little flag looking thing and jam it through there like a little cork to wedge your line in there, just like that. And that holds your line in there. Sometimes these do break off, and you can just run your line through there a few times to kind of lock it in place. These don't work as well, and some flags will pop out of the hole sometimes, and they do come off of the strike indicator too, and they are a little bit lower quality. As you can see, I'm rolling this up and smashing it very well. These are the airlock type strike indicators are a little bit different. They're a little bit harder and they last longer, and you don't have to worry about these breaking off, and they work a little bit better. And you run these probably 5 foot away from your lures or whatever on your tippet. Sometimes you'll even run the actual strike indicator on your leader, which connects to your tippet. And it's all how far away you want this, and how close you want this to the bottom, or how close you want it to the surface. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe.